Hi, my name is Rachel and I am an elementary school teacher. I wanted to talk about something that has been very impassioned the last few years, especially something that I encounter every day, nearly every single time I talk to a parent of my students, and that is multiplication. Some of you might be thinking, well, multiplication is multiplication, is multiplication, is multiplication, but it's how we're teaching multiplication and how we have this massive push and pull between how we are teaching it at school and how many parents or grown-ups or even older siblings in our students' lives are helping them, especially now in 2020, and so many of our students are not in the classroom, and when they do get that one-on-one time with the teacher, it's still over a screen and we can't exactly help them the way that we do. So I wanted to go through a math problem that I actually have been working on recently with my students and kind of just explain the differences and maybe why we're teaching it the way that we're teaching it. I do want everyone to know up front, the end goal, and this is something I tell my students all the time, is that eventually they're going to be able to solve multiplication problems in their head like that. But they need to learn why things are multiplied the way they do and kind of those foundations of the number system, which is the base 10 system. And one of the biggest things that I try to remind myself, as well as those of us that are helping children who are still in the learning process, is we may all be able to multiply now, or anything. We may be able, you can read now, but do you remember exactly how you learned to do it? We all know how we do it now, but we may not remember exactly how we learned to do it. I don't remember how I learned how to multiply. So that is why I wanted to create this video to show and explain some of what we do in the classroom, or what we're trying to do in the classroom in this world of 2020. So we are going to look at 12 times 12, which for me growing up was always the number combination that I dreaded. For some reason it always was, but we're going to look at 12 times 12. So I'm going to start off by going the traditional way, or what we think of. And I am just, for the sake of this, I'm just going to say traditional. So that is where most of us would just line up 12 over 12, and then we would start multiplying. So we would do 2 times 2 gives us 4, 2 times 1 gives us 2, and then we would add our 0, and then end up with 1 times 2 and 1 times 1. And then we would add these together, and I'm running out of space, so I'm going to write it up here, which gives me 4, 4, and 1. So this means 12 times 12 is 144. Pretty straightforward for most of us, simple. This is quick, easy. Why don't we teach it like this? We do, but remember, kids have to get to that point. So now we're going to look at the area model, which, yes, it does take a bit more time, but this is allowing us to do 2 things. One is instilling in their heads, in our students' heads, that area is multiplication. So they will immediately know that if it says area, they're multiplying, which is incredibly important. This is building some of those foundational skills that they will continue to use as they go through their math education. It also helps break it down step by step. Eventually, our goal is for all of them to be able to solve this problem in their head. I mean, everybody wants to do that. Yes, we all have a calculator next to us, but it is important for them to still be able to know how to do this without using a computational device, such as a calculator. So we're looking at an area model. The first thing that we have to do is break down our numbers in our initial problem, where they are in relation to 10. So the easiest way to do this is I tell my students, take our number. So in this case, we have 12. And because we have the same number, we only have to do it once. So then I'm just going to subtract 10. And this leaves me with 2. So that means that 12 is 10 plus 2. So this is important. So then we're going to draw our box. And this is the dreaded box that so many of us have seen on social media. So many of us have probably helped our own children with. This is the box. So this is what is known as maybe the box method, which just sounds awful to say. But so this is what we're doing. So I like to have my students, the first thing they do is in the corner over here, they put the multiplication symbol, because I'm trying to get them to remember this is somewhat like a multiplication table where you have numbers going down the side, you have numbers going along the top, and you multiply them together. That is essentially what we're doing, just on a smaller scale. So what we're going to do is we have 12 times 12. So we're going to do 10 plus 2, which is 12, and then 10 plus 2, which is also 12. I'm actually going to move these numbers over a little bit. And then where our plus symbol is, where our addition symbol is, we're going to draw lines. Because this is breaking down the steps that we did over here in a more visual way, which the idea is this will help our students remember it by being able to visualize it more. Multiply like you normally would, but you're doing it in the box. So we do 10 times 10, which is 10. Anything times 10, you just add 0 on the end. It's a trick I teach my kids. And then I go 10 times 2, same thing. Anything times 10, you just add 0 on the end. And then I also like to keep a list going on the side. So then when we're adding them together, it makes it a little bit easier. So then I do 2 times 10, which I already did over here. So I already know it's 20. And then I do 2 times 2, which is 4. So one of the biggest things and one of the biggest hurdles I have seen is that so many students don't know their multiples. And really, as long as they know their multiples up to 5, they can multiply anything. And that is a trick I will show you in another video. But one of the biggest things that you can do as a parent or somebody helping is just make sure they know their multiples up to 5 and just have them write it out and practice. That is one of the biggest things. So that is where we're at. So we end up with 100, 20, 20, and 4. So then I'm just going to add all of these together. So I have 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 4 gives me 4. 0 plus 2 also gives me 4. And 1 gives me 4. So I end up with the same answer, but I showed my work in a different way, a more visual way. This is also a way to get students to kind of visualize the parts of it. So you have 12 times 12 by breaking it down into sets of 10s and 1s. You're helping to visualize that it is larger, but also this is a picture that looks like an area model, which is exactly what we call it. So if you're thinking of in terms of geometry, this is where we're going. So then when they get to those geometry skills as they grow, they are going to be able to use this skill. Again, when they're in geometry, they're not going to write it out like this. They're probably just going to go 12 times 12, but they're going to be able to visualize it, at least hopefully in their head, as this way. I hope that this video has been helpful for some of you. I know it's addressing some of the questions I've been getting from my students, parents, and grown-ups who have been helping them, but it also, I think, explains why we're teaching math this way. And this doesn't mean that, you know, when they get to calculus, they're going to have to write out every single multiplication equation using an area model, using the boxes, because this is just a step. This is a step in the process. And I think that that is really important to memorize. And it is incredibly important if you have questions, especially right now in 2020, with so many students learning and engaging with their teacher virtually, that if you are helping your student and you don't understand it, to ask their teachers. And if their teacher doesn't help, maybe find another teacher, ask another teacher. You know, we want our students to succeed, and we also do understand that this isn't the way that I learned how to do it or the way that I remember how to do it. And so we are here to help. And if you have questions, please ask your teachers. Thanks, and I hope you have a great day. This video has been helpful for some of you. I know it's addressing some of the questions I've been getting from my students, parents, and grown-ups who have been helping them, but it also, I think, explains why we're teaching math this way. And this doesn't mean that, you know, when they get to calculus, they're going to have to write out every single multiplication equation using an area model, using the boxes, because this is just a step. This is a step in the process. And I think that that is really important to memorize. And it is incredibly important if you have questions, especially right now in 2020, with so many students learning and engaging with their teacher virtually, that if you are helping your student and you don't understand it, to ask their teachers. And if their teacher doesn't help, maybe find another teacher, ask another teacher. You know, we want our students to succeed, and we also do understand that this isn't the way that I learned how to do it or the way that I remember how to do it. And so we are here to help. And if you have questions, please ask your teachers. Thanks, and I hope you have a great day.